And welcome back. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander, and you are at midnight at the Oasis. We come on every time at this particular time. The night has gone down. People relaxing. Some people are up, some people are asleep. But it's also the time where we're on to the next day. Hope you had a good day. Hope you have a good sleep after this show. As usual, let's say a prayer. We thank you, God, for everybody watching. We pray that it continues to grow. Growth starts with one. Anything in our heart, anything that we have to do, God, we started at the first step. We thank you, God. For everybody who's watching this, who's not watching this, has that first step to great growth. Amen. All right. Thank you very much. So it's not a religious show. It's a news, entertainment show where we talk about the stuff that happened in the past day. And we talk about some of the things that's going on tomorrow. Name, Anthony Parker Alexander. We do another show called Keeping It Honest, where we talk national events, political events. We talk things that maybe some people are scared to talk about. We're a small show that's slowly growing because of you. We appreciate the growth. Don't forget to tell your friends, hit the like and share, and of course, subscribe button. Let's just keep us growing. As I grow, you grow, we're all a family. Speaking of family, don't forget on my don't forget to get on my Patreon page. And that's kind of like I tell people, kind of like a PBS where you contribute to help those shows continue to be on. So on my Patreon page, you type in patreon.com and you'll get to Keeping It Honest. Make sure you type that in, Anthony Parker. And you get on that page and you have three tiers. And on these three tiers, you can contribute whatever money you'd like to contribute. We started out as a small show. We're slowly growing in the time that we've been on, and it's because of you. I love it because we have shorts that are 5 seconds, and we have shows as long as 3 hours. Whew. So anytime you see something and you respond on the shorts, you don't think that's enough, then go to my long form. Because trying to condense all this into 5 seconds is a tough job. But we put a lot of effort into it, and we appreciate your support. A lot of our communication is because people are responding to our videos, and we have nice long threads. And I love it when people question me if they say, Anthony, that was fake news. I tell them, let me look for that, and I'll confirm that whatever we do is not fake news. But rest assured, when you get on our videos, sometimes we're on them, sometimes we're not. But even if we're not on them, it's a representation of me. I try to give you both sides of the story, try to give you left side, try to give you right side. At the end of the day, you may not like it, but you decide. But we're giving you the truth. We were fair and balanced before there was fair and balanced. Footnote, my background's in journalism. Been a journalist off and on for years, and also ran for politics and probably will run again. I ran for Congress not too long ago, so I know kind of the ins and outs. When people say there's conspiracies, I'm telling you, backdoor deals, I'm telling you, some of it is true, depending on what situation it is. So I forget, you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can text me, leave a voice message. That number is 216 702 3708. 216 702 3718. Sorry about that. Thought I was kind of confused. 216 702 3718. Drop me a line. Let me know what you think of the show. Midnight at the Oasis. We got this name because it was a famous song. And I used to do a show, I've done shows called Parker After Dark. Hence my name, Anthony Parker. My slogan was, it doesn't get any darker with Anthony Parker. So a lot of people have known that show over the years. And it's interesting with streaming. I've seen a lot of national people that were doing mainstream. I came from mainstream. And he went to streaming. because they were tired of being handcuffed with what you can say and can't say on regular TV. And I have found out that the news media, I don't want to say it's fake news, but there's a lot of stuff they don't put out there. So I congratulate all the truly informative streamers out there. Some of my favorites is Megan Kelly. She's my number one because she came from streaming, mainstream. She was on Fox, then she went to NBC, then they kicked her off, and now she's doing the Megan Kelly show. And some of my guests that I've gotten have been from the Megan Kelly show. So a lot of people say she's kind of brash because everything's uncensored on streaming, but she tries to take things in a journalistic light too, which I admire. So on this show, first let me tell you about yesterday's show. We talked about the person that got executed. I don't have the paperwork here, but you can go on and look at yesterday's show. And we gave the background on the guy that was on death row. Interesting story, very sad story. Let me show some video on that to confirm everything and close it again. So it was a very interesting show. Let me know what you thought of that. And on this show, so today what happened? Rallies, rallies, rallies. Not to be confused with the hamburger chain. If you have a rallies in your city, but there was the Donald Trump rally and there was a Kamala rally. We're going to have rallies for the next months because everybody's trying to get out there. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that rally. And we're also going to give you some news you can use. We're going to talk about how Waltz. How did he get picked? What kind of background did they have to have on this guy? You know, right now he's taking hits because he was in the military for 24 years. Should have been there maybe 26. And they're saying that he decided to drop out. His squadron said that they were supposed to go to war, or not to war, but a war zone. And he decided to drop out 2 years early so he could run for Congress. Some people say it because he was a commander. Some people said they left him high and dry. And his title that he's given people is a false title. He had that one title, listen up to me, and they took it away because he did not finish the 1 to 2 years he was supposed to finish. So if he's going out there saying he's this, he's that, again, read up on these people who are running for office. Read up on everything. Use these things as cliff notes so you know that everything's on the up and up. But we're going to talk about the one thing that he told Kamala and him that he doesn't do, but he had to learn to do. Something that to him was earth shattering, to us maybe not, but he told them when they were vexing him what he had to do. And about, Shapiro, some people said he should have been the one. I thought he was going to be the one, either him or Mark Webb. I was surprised when they picked Tim Walz. Um, and why was Tim Walz picked? Some people say he's a Republican, or he's a Democrat in Republicans' clothes, or he's a Republican in Democrats' clothes. He's kind of out there. The future of Shapiro, to me, was like a Barack Obama, the times I've seen him. But was he pushed out because he was Jewish? Some people saying yes, some people saying no. More people are saying yes, he was on streaming. More people are saying no, he wasn't on broadcast network. So we're going to talk about that with some of the hosts of CNN. We're going to piggyback off of that, and we're going to talk about it as they're talking. So this was interesting. 1 year ago, they had those fires in Hawaii. You remember those? So listen to this. They're trying to get people to come back. Now, it's been 1 year. So the name of the city was Lahaina, Maui. And officials on the island are urging people to come back there because they're trying to get businesses to open up. They're trying to get tourists to come back. So they've been trying to rebuild this area after that fire. Remember that? It killed at least 100 people and destroyed more than 2,200 structures. And this was in August 2023. So weeks after the blaze, the tourists were asked to return to the island. A lot of people didn't want to come back But it was kind of, you're kind of trying to sell us this, but the land's destroyed because there were thousands of displaced residents who didn't have a place to live and they lived in hotels. So you want people to come back to this area so you guys can make money, but yet the residents that lived there didn't have places to stay. So they want people now, a year later, to come back there to build the economy. And if you remember last year, The Rock and Oprah did a commercial together saying, we have this fund and we want you guys to contribute to our fund to help the residents. They took a lot of flack because Oprah's a billionaire and The Rock, he's rock solid with his money. And they're busy asking for money from people that you guys contribute. So the backlash got so bad that they had to come back to the media or through the media, do social media, and kind of apologize. So I don't really know what all happened after that, but they did look bad. And let me know if you've gone to Hawaii before and since um, that incident happened, the fires. That was really sad too. You're watching Midnight at the Oasis with Anthony Parker Alexander. Olympics are on. How many people have watched the Olympics? I've watched the swimming and I've watched a little bit of the volleyball and I watched the gymnastics. So I was kind of impressed on that. So Team USA, LeBron and them, LeBron, Steph Curry. Don't you think this is like the greatest team ever? But really, is it better than the team with Jordan and them? So Team USA's men's basketball, they advanced to the Olympics gold medal game. LeBron James, Steph Curry, a bunch of people, they defeated Serbia 95-91 on Thursday. So evidently Serbia must be pretty good because you got LeBron James, okay? You got Steph Curry against a Serbian team and they only won by 4 points. Wow. So now Saturday, they will take on France in the gold medal game on Saturday. Big game coming up. I don't know what time it's going to be, but let me know if you're going to watch it or not. And speaking of the Olympics, Olympic champ Sydney McLaughlin, wow, she smashes the world record and she made history. I don't know how many people saw this. So she's 25 years old. She's a superstar. Booyah. And she won the gold medal in the women's 40 sorry, 40 meter hurdles in a world record of 50.37 seconds. And let me drink something here while I'm talking. Tonight, as you ask, what is Anthony drinking? Tonight is hot cocoa. And you can drink and take a snack too while we're talking. So, little tidbits of information. And I know you guys may or not know about this. Which music superstar canceled 3 concerts this week after authorities discovered an alleged terror plot to attack the place where they were performing? Was it A. Adele, B. Taylor Swift, C. Billie Eilish, or D. Janet Jackson? And out of those 4, which ones would you be interested in going to see? I, of course, Adele, Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Janet Jackson. Personal level, Janet Jackson, number 1. Number 2 is Adele. I love her voice. Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish. That's a tough one. Can't really talk bad about Taylor Swift. But you know what people say right here, what I got? I got these people say I'm a Swiftie. Not necessarily a Swiftie. I just like wearing them. They're religious sayings on them too. But people look at you, oh, he's a Swiftie. We talked about Taylor. She's like almost 35 years old and she is still pertaining to 10, 12 tweens. She was doing this almost 20 years ago. She's going to be in her 40s and still talking to tweens. And one guy wrote an article about her and said, are you showing women that you can be in your 30s and still date and not ready to be married and have kids? Is she ever going to get married? Is she going to have kids? Little Swifties then. But if you hate on Taylor, they come after you. So I'm not hating because I love a lot of music. She's a marketing genius. She's so smart. You know what? I did songs 15 years ago. I'm going to update them and release them. Bam. I'm going to come on TV shows like Good Morning America the day before I bring out my new music. So she's a great marketing genius. Speaking of genius, let's talk about, as I get my notes here, the rallies. What do you think about the rallies? Not the, as I said, not the food chain, but the presidential rallies. They're all over the place. So they're finally going to be debates. This is going to be interesting. So President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala, they are set to debate on ABC, first station, with George Stephanopoulos, but it's not going to be him. So I don't know, because Trump said he wasn't going to, because he's suing George Stephanopoulos on an issue, and he wasn't going to do it. But he decided to do it on ABC now. This is going to be on September 10th. We're going to be covering this, so watch it with me. So he was speaking at his resort, Mar-a-Lago. He says that he is looking forward to debating Harris, and that he had agreed to upcoming dates from Fox News, which of course he goes on to, ABC News, Booyah, and NBC. Don't know which host, so it's going to be really interesting. So she confirmed her participation in the September 10th showdown. That's on ABC on September 10th. She agreed to that, but said that she would be happy to discuss further debates after they meet on stage next month. So you're going to wait until you either do good or suck to decide if you're going to do another debate. So, background, she's done no debates, no presidential debates. She did campaign debates when she was running for president, but no one-on-one debate. He has done 10 of them already. So it's going to be interesting. Are they going to be standing? There's going to be like the Joe Biden thing where you're in the room, no audience. We need an audience, okay? But she says she's going to wait after the first debate to see if she wants to do more debates. Now that's pretty crazy. Either you do the debates or you don't, okay? You haven't really been vexed right. We knew about you a little bit as vice president, but then I guess again we didn't. So now you're running for president. You pick your vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz. We really don't have a clue about him. He's taking his because of his military background. And these are the two people that are representing the United States. So they both had rallies today, presidential rallies. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance was at one, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz was at another one. And they said her VP, Tim, that he did really good. They were impressed with what he did. But he's going to talk about something that we take for granted when some of these politicians get out and speak, and we say they're very robotic and everything. And people say Kamala doesn't know how to talk without a teleprompter or a script. Well, the confession of this guy, Tim Walz, is going to be interesting. Maybe not earth-shattering, but maybe refreshing. And it could be his Achilles heel, or it could be the strength of the Democratic Party. So we're going to go right now onto this video where they're talking about the first rally, and we're going to talk about it as they're talking about it. So they talked about how they had their first rally, and it went really good. It surprised a lot of people. They're going to talk about the pros and the cons, and how this is going to affect the ticket, and also how Tim Walz's surprise was told to Kamala, as they were vexing him.
Jamie, you have some great new reporting about the process, the vetting process that Tim Walz went through, and the conversations that he had, including this moment on the teleprompter tonight.
So most people don't know this yet, but one of the things that Tim Walz confessed when he had his vetting was
So what is that confession? Is it him about the military thing? That's what I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to tell Kamala, well, you know what? I did leave early. I thought it was going to be something earth-shattering. But this is something that it can be controlled, but it may not be controllable just because of what she said that Tim said.
he said to the team, if you pick me, I have to share something with you. I've never used a teleprompter before.
So he's never used a teleprompter before. That's interesting. So that means he's been around. He's been governor 2 terms. And he's been around and he's never used a teleprompter. I give him a lot of credit on that.
I don't use them in
Betters
speeches.
must have had a big sigh of relief when he told them what the big news was.
If you have to have a vulnerability, that was one you want.
Yeah, because there's no big earth-shattering news that it might have upset Kamala and him and said, wow, maybe we shouldn't have picked him. No. He's never used a teleprompter. So how does that make you feel, Kamala and Joe? Not Trump. And not J.D. Vance, because I don't think any of them use teleprompters.
And he said, you're going to have to get me a teleprompter. You're going to have to get someone to teach me how to do it. And our colleague MJ Lee has reporting that in the hours before that speech, guess what? They had a teleprompter backstage and he was practicing with it. I just want to add, someone texted me, he reads Republican. And I think that is the reason I was told by people who were familiar with the vetting that he was a favorite candidate.
So if he reads Republican, maybe they picked him because they felt that maybe he could get some of the Republican base from Trump's people to come to his side.
Because he may not be Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, but they feel he will connect and attract voters in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Georgia, in North Carolina, that his Midwestern nice will play elsewhere. I also just want to say about that speech, it's one of the reasons that Harris picked him. That's his superpower. He is authentic. He knows how to deliver even a tough line with a smile. The line of the night, I thought, was when he said, let's be clear, crime was up under Trump. That part I'm paraphrasing. But then he turned and he said, and that's not even counting the crimes he committed.
So the personal thing, yeah, I don't like when they talk about the policy and issues, yeah, that's good. But would he be better than Shapiro? So when they said that West could possibly take those other states, if you replace him with Shapiro, what is the thing that Shapiro has? Because Josh Shapiro is kind of like an Obama. But where West would be, okay, we're thinking about his military service, we don't believe it. Is Shapiro's thing that people talk about, is he's Jewish, and is he going to take a flack and hurt us because he's Jewish? Two different things. Let me know what you think.
Brought down the House.
Okay, so let's ask Republicans or former Republican.
Still Republican, not Trump supporter.
Okay.
For the record,
about
I'm still very much Republican.
No. I was looking at Alyssa. You can't see we're looking at these pictures. I was looking at Alyssa. The whole idea of his appeal. We see and hear the Trump campaign, J.D. Vance. I mean, they're going full steam ahead on saying he's a progressive and she's too liberal and so on and so forth. Is that going to fly when he delivers lines the way he does, when he looks the way he looks, when he has the background that he does?
So listen, this was a flawless rollout for all intents and purposes. And I have a feeling that Donald Trump was feeling pretty confident this morning when Governor Josh Shapiro was not the pick, somebody who was a moderate that they were a lot more afraid of running against. But they shouldn't get too confident with this choice because Mike Waltz, yes, has a progressive record that they're going to attack him for. Hands down, they are going to. But to Jamie's point, he reads like a normie uncle, dad, white guy in the Midwest. And
So a white guy in the Midwest, but will he appeal for African Americans? Where I think Josh Shapiro, who's kind of cool, you could picture him, on an old Arsenio Hall show, if you know what that is, or on a Jimmy Fallon, just maybe blowing a trumpet and saying, "Hey man, what's up, dude?" and singing stupid stuff. Where that may appeal to a lot of people, and maybe with West, you couldn't see that. Maybe him being on a Jeopardy show or something. Mass appeal, broad appeal, any kind of appeal. All people want is that they feel that you are talking to them. So which one? You at home, you get a knock on the door. Which one are you more open to opening the door to? Now, in that, I would say maybe Wes, because he looks like the guy that's down the street cutting the grass. Well, Shapiro is kind of like, it looks like the guy that's washing his Escalade, but it's still friendly. What do you think?
I think that he's somebody who can play in those critical swing states, Wisconsin, Michigan, his home state of Minnesota, but also in Pennsylvania. And then he's boosted by the fact that a moment for Josh Shapiro knocked it out of the park at the kickoff of this and made very clear he's going to be out campaigning for this ticket. So it's not like it was a net loss that you didn't get the Shapiro factor. This was a very, very strong event. However, there are flaws of Mike Waltz. There's a reason that Tim Walz.
One of the
Let's
flaws
talk about
is
Mike
his throat the
Walz.
same name ID.
The fact that I'm confusing him with a Republican in Congress. There are things that are going to be really relitigated, like this, the riots in the summer of 2020, his slow walking, calling out the National Guard, something that's been a vulnerability and that Republicans have called out Kamala Harris for. But I think they're prepared for what the attacks are, and if they stick to this script tonight, it will work.
And Scott, as you come in, one of his friends told me this morning that his superpower is how normal he is.
Is he? I mean, I don't know. I don't know this guy. I mean, is it normal to let your biggest city in your state burn while you're the governor for 4 days, destroying thousands of businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage while you do nothing? Does that sound normal? Is it normal for your wife to say she opened the window so she could let the smell of tire fires waft in so they could take in the smells of this radical chaos and anarchy on the streets of Minneapolis? I don't view any of that as normal.
Yeah, and I know people have talked about that. Tim Weiss's wife opening up a window. I don't know if that's true or it's just a fable that people are talking about. But also when they talk about Josh Shapiro, it's going to be interesting. This guy and why he wasn't picked, it almost makes sense.
I look at this through the lens of decision making. And in two cases, they've showed us who they are. Kamala Harris absolutely bowed down to the radical left in her party by not picking Shapiro, who is Jewish. There was a nasty campaign run against him. Everybody knows it. No one wants to admit it, but everybody knows it.
And on, like I said, streaming shows, they will talk about he definitely wasn't picked because he was Jewish. Maybe if this isn't his time because you got the war and Gaza going on and everything, and maybe if none of that would have happened, then maybe he would be the perfect candidate. We don't know. One situation can change everything in your life. Maybe it's not Shapiro's time yet, but he will have his time.
And
We've
she wound up choosing the person who was not Jewish and not as talented and not from the state that she has to win. He did a nice job tonight. Everybody can see why he was the best choice, but she couldn't do it because the party is somewhat awash in anti-Semitism. And for Walz, when he did what he did during the riots, to me, it was him saying, I don't have the strength or the character to stand up to this anarchy. So in two big decision points for this ticket, they've showed us they will always bow down to the radical left. So I think if you want to talk about normal, to the normal people in this country, bowing down to the radical left is not normal. It shouldn't be normal, and it should be a flashing red light to the normies of America that this is not the ticket for you.
One of the big issues in this election is a woman's right to choose. And guess what? Kamala Harris got a choice to make, and she got to make the choice who was going to be her running mate and who she was going to go into the next 90 days in.
And she's going to keep pushing the abortion issue because she's been doing that for the longest. If that's her one thing, that's her one thing that she pushes.
and maybe the next 4 years, and maybe the next 8 years. You don't get to tell her who she has to run with. She gets to choose that. That's what leaders do. There's no way you can say Tim Walz is radical because he wants to feed kids. He doesn't want kids to go home. You know who gets hungry is white kids, black kids, brown kids, poor kids get hungry. That doesn't discriminate. That's not Tim Walz's policy. That's not a radical left.
I said it was radical
also,
to let Minneapolis burn. Do you agree?
Yeah. No, but let's go back to 2020. If you want to have a contest about who's more radical, you know it was radical sending troops out to clear protesters out in front of the White House so Donald Trump could have a photo op. You want to know what's radical? Not telling people on January 6th to stop, that you lost the election, and that Trump, his own vice president, Mike Pence, who won't come in a football field length of him right now. That's radical. That's who your guy is. I'll take Tim Walz any day.
There should have been troops on the streets of Minneapolis immediately. It was burning to the ground.
Let me just.
And real quick too, when she talked about the vice president candidate, let's talk about J.D. Vance. You wonder, and when they were vexing him, did they ask him, well, you know what? Donald Trump, when he last picked his running mate, Mike Pence, it didn't end up good. Mike Pence has pretty much felt that Donald Trump left him hanging, and Donald Trump pretty much said, well, you know what? You're a coward because you didn't stand up to the Constitution and the people and make it work in my favor or even the Constitution's favor. So they're not fans of each other, Mike Pence and Donald Trump. So are you, or did you ask J.D. Vance, how did you feel about that? Do you think Donald Trump will be loyal to you? Do you think Donald Trump was loyal to Mike Pence? Do you think Mike Pence was loyal to Donald Trump? That's one of the questions I want to know. What was the deciding factor with with J.D. Vance to say, hey, you know what? Beside me looking at your policies and you changing and making me change my mind, what I think of you as a person. And that Mike Pence and Donald Trump situation is the one key thing I think that should have been the deciding factor as far as J.D. Vance and him running with Donald Trump. And here's where these guys get into it.
Just say one thing before you come in, and that is because you brought up Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
We have been talking about the fact that there was a campaign against him.
Ugly.
That was clearly, I want to say, because based on the fact that he was Jewish, he doesn't have any different policy ideas than the other people. However, I don't think we have any evidence that that is why she didn't pick him. In fact, if you watched him tonight, and I want to stay on the people who are on the ticket, but
I like Dana Bash. She's been on here for years for CNN. She was a part-timer to start doing her own show. Some people don't like her, but I like how she's talking journalistically and covering her behind as a journalist in the station that she represents, whether you like her or not. But listen to what she's saying about Shapiro.
But if you watched him tonight, he has top of the ticket energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not VP energy.
Yeah,
and there's no way in my, there's no way that wasn't part of it.
I know Jamie has some good reporting on this, and I have some visibility into this.
Yes.
I think that there was a real, I don't think he was excluded for that reason. I'm not sure he was excluded at all. I think there was a mutual meeting of the minds.
Dave Axelrod right there. He's also a good friend of Barack Obama's. And some people say he's the mouthpiece of Obama when Obama wants to say something. David Axelrod was one of the first people. He also has a podcast, but he's worked with the Obama administration. But he was one of the first people to say, well, maybe, Joe, you should drop out. Now, was that Obama talking to him, telling him to go on? Some people say he was. So when he gives his conversations, you kind of think that Obama has been in his ear. And Obama believes exactly what David Axelrod believes.
As to whether this was the right fit for him with her. I appreciate, as the only, oh, no, you're here. But just let me, oh, yes, all of us. But I appreciate your, I'm, anti-Semitism is something that a lot of us have faced in different ways, and my family has faced, and so on. I don't like to see it exploited here. One of the things that separated this rally from a Trump rally is it felt very wholesome. It felt very positive. It wasn't just a series of sort of appeals to hate and division and grievance. And so I think, I mean, I understand the talking point. I'm sure we'll hear more of it.
And it's interesting too, because you go to these rallies, you see them. I've aired some of them. Which one's more positive? Is it the Trump rallies that are positive, or is it the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz now rallies that are positive? Something to think about.
Give me 1 second, Scott, one moment. Take a beat. I think it's important to add to that 2 things that we have from our reporting. One is that even going into this election, Josh Shapiro had some, let's just say, hesitancy or questions about whether he wanted to be the number 2.
Yep. So that's interesting too. Again, sorry to break it up. So Josh Shapiro, they had the vaccine between him, Tim Watts, and Mark Webb. And maybe Shapiro said, you know what? I could come in as a number 2, maybe 4 years, but in 4 years, I want to run for number 1. And if Camilla's going to try to run again, then I'd have to run against her, because I don't want to be a number 2. I don't mind learning, but I have goals. And my goal is not to start as a number 2. I'm honored, but I want to be me. And I want to come out as number 1. So you just never know. Maybe Josh Shapiro would have been the one, but because the Democratic Party said try to go after Josh, we got to start everything from money again. Let's pick Kamala. Let's see how she does. And if she wins, maybe we'll try Josh in 4 years. Or if she loses, maybe we'll try Josh in 4 years. But no matter what, he is showing Josh Shapiro that he possibly is not a number 2 man, but is a number 1 man.
You may remember that 3 weeks ago, there were a lot of people who were not sure that Kamala Harris was going to be the most exciting ticket. It feels very different now. And he is someone who definitely has ambitions to run, and he was looking at down the road. And we have new reporting tonight from our team that, in fact, when he went into his vetting meeting and also in his in-person meeting with Harris, he made it very clear what kind of vice president he wanted this to be. It was much more of a 2 for the price of 1. He wants to be in the room. He wanted to have a real say in these things. There are sources we've talked to who feel that in those meetings, Shapiro sort of set the stage not to be picked.
Jamie, you have some.
So that's very interesting. Wow. Would you have liked to have had Josh Shapiro? We'll never know. I didn't want him at first. I thought he was too young. And maybe just having 2 young people on the ticket. Kamala's 61. I don't know how old Josh Shapiro was or is, but he just looks so young. But then, won't he still look young 4 years from now? Probably. But he showed himself. He showed how smooth he is, just a little bit, and how charismatic. And some people say he's a younger version of Barack Obama. So what have you thought so far? You're watching Midnight at the Oasis. We just talked about the 2 rallies, the differences between the Democratic rally, the Republican rally, how Tim Walz, so many different names, how he told them, look, I don't do teleprompters. So now he's got to start doing a teleprompter. He may get frustrated like Donald Trump. Donald Trump will tell you, I don't like teleprompters. So it's going to be interesting to see him do it. And then J.D. Vance, you figure he uses them, but we don't know how much he uses them. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does. So the most important thing is a teleprompter. Then you got Kamala, who does use a teleprompter and messes up. And Donald Trump has said, look, we got 2 people who read and can't read. Come on, give me a break. So we'll see. And then Donald Trump did an hour in 10 minutes Q&A with the media. Asked all questions, answered all questions. We're going to broadcast that too, so stay tuned for that. But while he did that, 70 minutes, Kamala did barely a 70-second press release as she's getting off the plane or going on the plane, and they're asking her a question, and she's pretty much like, we'll see. She has not talked to the American people. It's been over 2 weeks since she was kind of picked to become the president. She said in about a month, at the end of this month, that she'll do a interview. Doesn't know with who. So when she does this interview, person that's running for president, it'll be a month and a half after it was announced she was going to run for president that she's going to do an interview. Why so long? Press, you need to grill her. Okay? It seems like she's just pushing things down closer to the road of the election. That way she has less to do. So if she does one media thing and then one debate, the election is literally there. So how much do you really get to know about her? But again, look what happened to that one debate that Joe Biden had. If he hadn't had that debate, what we have now, Kamala, going out for president, one thing again can change the trajectory of everything. You have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly, parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Phone number, voice message, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. The Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court's 2021 decision to overturn Roe versus Wade, it remains unpopular with a wide majority of Americans. So how can something be overturned when the majority of people still want it? So here we go. 2/3 of Americans, okay, they oppose the High Court's abortion decision. So 2/3 of the country said we don't want it. But the Supreme Court is going to overturn that. Okay, you don't want it. But the Supreme Court says we're going to do it our way. Only a small number of members deciding the fate of everybody, every female out there. Again, when do individuals' rights to change the republic really count? If 2/3 of the people that said, hey, we do not want this change, but the Supreme Court decides to change it. What is that? Democracy? Is that really democracy? So the 2022 ruling returned the question of abortion to the states, about half of which have banned or severely restricted terms. So how do you think about stuff being returned to the states? Should stuff be federal or should it be stately? Should every state have their own different rules or should it be a federal law? And I remember reading about slavery. You know, you could have slavery in one state, but then you go to that other state where you're free. It took a while for it to be, a federal law that you can't have slaves. So are we good for state by state law or do we want a federal law? Financial. Don't want to bore you real quick, but I guess this affects the presidential race too. They say that mortgage rates have plunged to their lowest level in more than a year. Wow. And they said this is welcome news to prospective homeowners to buy homes. The standard 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 6.47 compared to 6.73%. So to me, it hasn't gone down much. They said this is the lowest level since May 2023, but home prices are still a major obstacle for many Americans. Home prices, I don't care what they say about these surveys, they're high. So you just toss that. It's hard to buy a home. It's hard to do what you used to do years ago. More people are, even with the kids, are coming back home. College costs are high. Mortgage rates are high to stay. Food is high. Gas prices are high. Again, Donald Trump said something, vote for your stomach. If it's a time where you're more hungry now than you were 4 years ago, then that's a problem. If it's a time where you've been fed, then do what you do and vote with who's ever been feeding you. So that's something to think about. It's going to be a crazy election, I'm telling you. So we have a number today. It's 18, and that's at least how many internet satellites China blasted into low orbit Earth this week. Wow, so 18 satellites. We talk about China. They put up 18 satellites this week. Wow. So China's long term goal is to create a mega bunch of satellites, 14,000 satellites beaming broadband internet coverage from space. So they just did 18 in a week. Their goal is to get 14,000. I don't know how many they got up there now. What is America's number? Is America doing this? And his quote today: "No more excuses. I want to see results." Isn't that like anything in life? You want to see results. You're tired. People, even jobs. I don't want to see any excuses. I need to see results. Anything that you do, you don't want to hear excuses. What are you doing? A friend of yours, you don't want to hear excuses. What are you doing? California Governor Gavin Newsom, who people try to get to run for president, and this is dealing with homelessness. It affects everywhere. I was talking to somebody today, and Las Vegas is a big place for homelessness. California is a big place for homelessness. Where I'm at, there's that homeless there too, but people just don't want to address it. So I give people credit for addressing it. And everybody's like really close to being homeless. You know, they're working jobs to keep their income, to pay for food, gas, lights, and to pay where they stay. And their place of stay has gone up too. So how do we do it? We just keep praying for each other. So for Gavin Newsom of California, who a lot of people wanted to run for president, but California is one of the states that has the highest unemployment. People are leaving in droves, they say, and there's a lot of homelessness. So he criticized some local jurisdictions for not doing enough to reduce homelessness despite the unprecedented resources the state has provided. So it says the state has done a lot for homelessness in California. I have to find out. So the governor issued an executive order in July calling on state agencies to begin taking down homeless encampments on state property. Wow. So because they're not doing things, he's like, look, you got to take down these homelessness encampments. But why would you have those encampments on state property anyway? There's got to be woods and everything else to go to that you can, if you're homeless, unfortunately, you could go to. Why would you go on something that's going to cause attention to what your life is? So he did an executive order, meaning signing a paper. And I tell people, executive order, you can turn around anything. If there's homelessness, let's put together a shelter. Write it. Executive order that you can put together a place in your community to help the homeless people that are really homeless. Let me know if people are doing that in your community. So he said if they don't do what he asked, he will redirect money from California jurisdictions that don't show results by early next year. So any area, state funded area that isn't doing what he said to get rid of these encampments, he's going to take away that money. Now, how can you do that? Because he executive ordered it. Wow. I tell you before, backyard inside deals is done all the time. There's no such thing as a conspiracy to a conspiracy because it is not a conspiracy. It's real. So last month we had talked about which superstar canceled 3 concerts because there was an alleged terror attack that was going to take place at the venue. Adele, Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, or Janet Jackson. And if you said, drums please, Taylor Swift, you are correct. And remember, where we at? Taylor Swift, we're not doing this for you. We're doing it for me. So any Taylor Swift fans out there, email me, text me. If I ticked you off, that means you're watching, and I appreciate it. But make sure when you do contact me, you subscribe. Okay? So you've been watching Midnight at the Oasis. We do the show every night, 12 in the morning. We close out the news. We tell you about the new news. We give you things with a Parker twist. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's ParkerMan2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Telephone number 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. Get on my Patreon page. Type it in. Keep it honest. 3 tiers. Support our show. You see we doing all this. We do it for you. Join our family. As we grow, you grow. Let's grow together as a family. Thank you for the texts and the threads and everything. Let's keep it going. Keep on. Keep it on. Keep subscribing, people. So we should be back tomorrow. Same time. Same channel. Keeping it honest. Go on there. Look at some of the shorts. Look at some of the longs. Because they're long. And the shorts, they're shorts. But hopefully you will be entertained. We will see you soon. I am Anthony Parker. Keep your head up. Never look down. Always believe in yourself. And therein will lie your answer. We don't just keep it simple. We don't just keep it real. We don't just keep it honest. But we keep it midnight at the Oasis. I'm Anthony Parker Alexander. God bless.